Welcome back to another episode of Choose Africa. Today is a solo episode, and I'm going to be detailing how I work with my own personal assistant. Her name is Mary. She's based in Ethiopia. She's super awesome. And the reason why I'm doing this episode is because we get so many questions from clients on how they can work with a virtual assistant, what tasks they can give, all about setting it up. And so I just wanted to share my own personal experience on why I hired Mary, the tasks that she helps me with, how I onboarded her, how we communicate, strategies, just the results. Now, again, this will look totally different potentially for you because, again, a virtual assistant can do so many tasks. So it's really tailored towards what you need. So keep in mind that if I'm not listing a task, like your virtual assistant might be able to do it. Or if I set it up differently than you would want, you can set it up in your own way. That's kind of like the great thing about hiring a virtual assistant is that they should really feel part of your team and you should make it work for you. So this is just my own experience of how it works for me. So the reason why I decided to first hire an assistant and how I knew I was ready was that I did a time audit. Now, some of our clients do time audits and they're super high tech and fancy. They will have an app that basically tracks what they do and then gives it to them like in an assessment afterwards. I am not that person. I really like to write things out. That's kind of how I process things. So for me, I just created a Google sheet and I did 15-minute increments for a week. So like 9 a.m. to 9:15, 9:15 to 9:30. And I wrote what I did during those times. And then I color coordinated. So was it email? Was it a sales call? Was it a marketing task? And then at the end of the week, I looked at what I did and honestly, I was so surprised. I found out I was spending over, I think 10, almost 12 hours a week on email. I mean, think about that. 12 hours a week just emailing. That was like 25% of my week. And that did not make sense to me. And I also looked at, okay, like what should I ideally be doing with my time? Like what does the ideal week for me look like? And I realized it was not possible. Like the week was too short to do all the things I needed to do and had to do. And so that was when I was like, it's time. It's really time for me to hire an assistant to get some of these other tasks off me so that I can do what I actually want to do. So when I decided to work with Mary, I primarily wanted her to focus on admin, especially email. And the reason for that is because I read a book called Buy Back Your Time. I think it's by Dan Martell. I highly recommend it. I think you should read it before hiring a virtual assistant. And he recommends starting with admin because that's kind of the easiest thing to delegate and the thing that really you don't need to be doing. And then over time, your assistant can do more and more. And it's also because some people will come to us and they need more help with sales and marketing. And of course we have cold callers and of course we have marketing assistants. But for me personally, I love sales and marketing. Like that really lights me up. I have a lot of fun with it. So I knew admin is like the thing I really hate the most and struggle with the most. So that's really where I wanted to plug Mary in so I could do the things that really move the needle and do the things that really lit me up. Now, we do have some clients who hate marketing. They're like terrified to be like doing anything on LinkedIn. And so then maybe that's when maybe you need more of a marketing assistant instead of a admin assistant. But the task I give Mary is, first of all, my inbox. That was the first thing that had to go. So originally, I was going to have her write back always as her, like, hey, this is Mary, Valerie's assistant. I got to this email before she could. Here's what you need. But then as we went on and on, I felt much more comfortable with Mary in my inbox responding as me. And also some emails like an introduction for a sales call, it didn't look good to have an assistant writing it for me. However, it's a very templated message. You know, you basically say like, hey, so-and-so, thank you for the introduction. Nice to meet you. I'd love to set up a call. Look forward to speaking. Like it's almost a template that I would just write over and over. So I do have her write those out as me. So probably 90% of the time she is sending out emails on my behalf. If there is an email that is too hard for her, not too hard, just really is best if I explain. She just puts it in like a Valerie folder. And then I know at the end of the day, I'm supposed to go to that folder and clear out those emails because those are emails that really she can't write back to without my support. Sometimes she will draft messages and then I just tweak it and send it, which has also been really helpful. So inbox is, again, her number one priority. Number two is my calendar. So when somebody wants to set up a time with me, I do sometimes use my Calendly link, but sometimes it's actually really helpful to have someone more strategically schedule meetings more back to back, make sure there's not like weird empty times in between meetings. She also will look at my networking meetings and she'll schedule them out and make sure that I go to at least 1 or 2 a week, which has been really nice. The third thing she does is help me with LinkedIn. Now, again, I love LinkedIn, so I'm on it all of the time, but there is a solid amount of connecting, commenting, things like that that are really helpful to have her to do. And just in case you're wondering in terms of like, how does she replicate my voice when it comes to some comments and some emails? A lot of it was kind of practice in the beginning. She would show me how she would draft something and I would say like, no, like I am Midwest nice. Like you need to make that a little bit more friendly. You need to add a few more emojis. Like she kind of just took my feedback over and over until she could craft responses that really sounded like me. Alternatively, you can also use ChatGPT because you could actually build kind of like your presence on there so that your assistant can also mimic you based on AI, which is kind of cool too. Now, Mary also handles some of my guest podcasting. And then she also handles projects for me. So basically, inbox is a priority. Then there's calendar. Then there's LinkedIn, some podcasting. And then whenever she has leftover time in the day, she is doing projects for me. So I have a laundry list, probably like any other CEO, of just like massive amounts of things that I need done. So the first thing she's helping me with is rebuilding my CRM. We had a very embarrassing CRM, I'm not going to lie. So she rebuilt it and did a lot of cool configurations and automations that I didn't know were even possible. Another thing that she's working on for me is there was a couple AI tools that I thought this might be really helpful for me, but I do not have the time to really spend hours on it, to figure it out, to test it out. So she is exploring those for me. And then she'll just come back kind of with like a report on if it's helpful, if she wants to test it out, she'll show me how it works. So that's also been awesome. Now, I feel so comfortable with Mary that I think I could send her to a few meetings on my behalf. I haven't done that yet, but I have been on the other end where I'll show up to a meeting and someone sends their virtual assistant. And honestly, I always admire that. Like it's so smart. Sometimes you just need to show up to the meeting and get some like details, and it doesn't always have to be you who goes. So those are the main tasks that she does for me. Now, in terms of onboarding her, we have clients who come to us very organized with like the best SOP, with all the Loom videos already made, with all the passwords ready to go. And I admire those customers so much, and it makes onboarding so much easier. However, I am not like that. We are running like at 100 miles per hour, and I did not have time to do any of that. So instead, what I did is she just virtually shadowed me. So after our daily stand-up, we would just be on a Zoom call for like a couple of hours each day. She would just watch how I checked my inbox and how I responded and what folders I put things in. When it came to doing other things, again, a lot of it was just virtually shadowing her, asking me. And then I had her document her own SOPs. And that is something you want anybody to do, but especially an assistant. Like if you spend all that time training someone and for some reason they have to leave you, you don't want that. You won't even know how to do your own things. So if you don't have your own SOPs, have your assistant write them. After I saw the SOPs that Mary wrote, there's a couple of things I tweaked. There's a few things I added. And then at the end, we had a really good, transparent understanding of what her role was and how she was supposed to do things that we both agreed on. So that was pretty awesome. When it comes to logins, I just gave her my logins. However, I think LastPass is something a lot of our clients use, probably a better option. Again, I was just running so fast that it was easier for me to like send over passwords. And then of course, once she had access to my email, there were a couple passwords I couldn't actually quite remember. So she was able to reset them for me because she had access to my email. So that was also super handy. Now, in terms of how we communicate, we primarily use WhatsApp. I always say like your assistant should use the communication tool that is most easy for you. So if that's Slack, perfect. Teams, okay. For me, it was WhatsApp. We do have a few clients who are, they're like therapists or in more like compliant industries. And so they have their own kind of like a WhatsApp alternative that's a lot more encrypted and safe. And so they'll use that app. So I use WhatsApp, but again, I think the bottom line is that you should do whatever is most handy for you. And then every day we actually have a team meeting. So all of my Cradle team shows up at 9:15 to 9:30. And so Mary joins those. Sometimes she'll ask me what needs to be done that day, or she'll tell me what she wants me to do. But for the most part, we kind of already have that understanding, but sometimes we will hang on that call longer or do a separate call as needed. Also in the beginning, when we started, we use Gmail. So Gmail for our business. Gmail has this cool like note-taking app with inside your email. It's like on the side of your email. You probably don't even realize it's there, but it is there. So in the beginning, she would also do daily reports. Like I did this, I need you to do that. And then after working together for so long, it wasn't really necessary because I knew what she was doing. And if I had questions, I would just text her. But I think that was also a really nice way to create transparency, especially in the beginning. So I would recommend that. Now, in terms of mistakes, I think you have to be honest and know that I've been doing this for years. So anybody who comes in, especially with my lack of training and SOPs, is going to make a couple mistakes, and it's not really their fault. So one thing that did come up is I think Mary booked someone on our podcast that I was like, oh, I actually don't want them to be on my podcast. So I had to like nicely cancel. And then it was a good thing. It was a good reminder to be like, oh, that's not even in our SOPs. Okay. So if somebody requests to be on our podcast, that is a decision that I need to make. So just move it to the Valerie folder. So there's things like that, like mistakes will be made. I think we had a couple onboarding calls that got sent off incorrectly. And again, lack of training, also being new, that just kind of happens with anybody you hire. So just know that the first couple months, you'll see a few mistakes. But by end of month 2, month 3, you should really be in a good groove. Now, the overall results of working with Mary so far have been so nice. Like it is so nice to not be chained to my inbox. Like it feels so amazing to actually be doing other work that I actually enjoy doing. And we have grown a lot because of that. I think for my team, what they love the most is that I am no longer the bottleneck. So before I'm in calls all day or I'm recording YouTube videos or podcasts. So all of these important emails are coming to me that my team is depending on, and I can't get to them until like the end of the day or that night. And so having someone constantly in my inbox to keep things moving when I'm not physically present has been very, very helpful. Other things have just been like, I took my first sick day, like my first real sick day. Normally, if I got sick, I would still have to like have my laptop open. I still had to check my email. But I was able to actually pretty much go offline. And I just told her, like, call me if some important email comes in. But she really kept things running when I was out. So that was so nice. And then, of course, my massive list of laundry, I call it like my laundry list. It's like my laundry projects. It's all my projects are actually moving forward. So all of those things I don't have time for, like putting that freebie on my email, updating my CRM, doing the AI tools, like figuring out a better project management tool, all of that is still moving forward. And I don't actually have to do it. I can kind of just give my idea, like I would say, let's call it the 10-80-10 rule. So 10% I come up like, this is what I want. This is how I want to design it. This is the parameters. She does probably 80% of it. And then the last 10% I'm tweaking and adjusting for how I really want it. So that's kind of like a great way to think about it. So those are just some of the results. Honestly, I can't recommend having an assistant as much like as, I mean, I can only say it's so worth it. If you really integrate your assistant into your team and give them real responsibilities, it will make your life so much easier. Now, just to close out, I'm going to share a few of my top favorite strategies that I've kind of learned that work specifically well, again, for just me and my own assistant. The first thing is when it comes to hours, I did choose to have Mary work 30 hours because I wanted email support. And so she can't just work 2 hours in the morning and then clock off because there'll just be too many emails that come in the rest of the day that need to be responded to quickly. So we started off with 30, and then she will in a couple months move up to 40 after she gets married. So we're waiting until after her wedding when she can take on some more hours. For other people who want an assistant for 10 hours a week, that's totally fine too. But I don't think they can really effectively handle your inbox if you are someone who needs fast replies, because it just wouldn't make sense. But if you are someone who has like a lot of projects, then 2 hours a day might be totally fine for you. Second strategy is really set those priorities clear. So I know, like, I think the first week we were working together, I noticed that some emails weren't being responded to as quickly as they should. And it was because she was busy working on the CRM. So it was a good reminder to be like, no, inbox is always first priority. That is where you live. That is always what needs to come first. And now the third thing is to have a set clear time. So at Cradle, all of our assistants work US time, but also you want to really specify those hours. So I know what time Mary clocks out, and I will still message her afterwards just so I don't forget, but she knows she does not have to like respond to those messages. But it's really helpful. So even if you're only working with an assistant for 2 hours a day, still set that time, like from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon. This is when my assistant works. So then you know when you're going to get replies and you can expect your deliverables. Now, fourth thing is, again, I spent tons of time with Mary. Like at this point, I spend so much time with Mary that she knows me so well. And that's why she's able to be such a great assistant, because she is able to kind of think how I'd want things done. So if you treat your assistant like someone offshore that you don't really know and they're just doing tasks for you, they're not going to do as good of a job as if you actually get to know them and build a relationship and bring them into your company as like real team members, and then they'll do amazing. And in terms of bringing them in as team members, I would say that also means connecting them to your other team members. So that has been another important thing. Once Mary came in, I set up other group chats with my team members. So previously, one of my team members would have to message me to get something that was maybe in my inbox. Now they know to message me on the thread that Mary is connected to, so that Mary can get them that information and things keep moving faster. Also, there have been times where like maybe one of my team members was out or needs some extra help. And then again, Mary was there to provide just an extra set of hands to help with whatever the task was needed. So definitely connect your assistant to the rest of your team. We do have a lot of clients who hire like a high level marketing assistant or a high level ops person that's in the US, that's expensive, but comes up with like a really awesome strategy. And then pairing them with an assistant is kind of the perfect combo. It's also very cost effective. So you can look at it like that. We also work, when it comes to working with some of our bigger clients who already have executive assistants, we found that the virtual assistants work really well under their executive assistants, because again, that buys more time for their executive assistant to do higher level tasks within the company while still getting some work done. And then my only other last recommendation I would say is that when Mary originally started, it was so much help. And all of a sudden I had pockets of time that I have not had since really we started this business. But I was not using them effectively. Like I did, in all transparency, I found myself scrolling on Instagram or doing some things that just were like not really moving the needle forward. And so I did go ahead and I bought that book. What is it called? Like the 12-year week? No, the 12-week year. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I'm so embarrassed now, but it was something that was like, okay, so this is what I really want to get done in the next 12 weeks. And these are the tasks I need to do. So now that I actually have time, I can do them. So yes, once you start working with an assistant, make sure you're using that free time for good purposes. Or maybe it's even just to take off work early and spend more time with your kids, but just utilize it strategically is what I would say. The only last thing I didn't mention is project management tools, because a lot of our clients use that with our assistants. And I would say, again, whatever you use, whether it's Asana or Monday or anything, just bring your assistant into your current platforms. I know Mary now has an account with us on Monday.com, which is what we use. And so again, just making your assistant really blend into your team seamlessly is the key. So that is my experience with my own assistant. Again, it might look very different from you, depending on the size of your company, the tasks that you need done. But I would say once you get an assistant and you onboard them and you set it up correctly, Wow, it is so amazing. I know that I have a vacation coming up in August this year, 2025, and we are hoping to go back to Ethiopia. And I'm like, wow, I can actually take a vacation and my assistant will be still moving things forward. And so there's just so many benefits like that that I wish every busy executive, busy CEO, busy founder had a really good assistant. So that is my experience. If you have any other questions, of course, you can message us on LinkedIn. You can send me a message through our website. And if you found this helpful, it would be so amazing if you would like and just subscribe to our podcast. Leaving a review means so much to us. It is so helpful in getting these messages out of why people should choose Africa, why people should choose virtual assistants based in an African country. So if that is something you are also passionate about and believe in, please leave us a review. And in the meantime, thank you for listening. I hope this helps.